Hello and welcome back to another video leading up to the launch of Last Epoch 1.0 on February 21st. You should be familiar with this rodeo by now, but if you're new here, I'm going to take a minute to explain it. Hopefully less. This is items and affixes. So new uniques, new bases, all sorts of fun stuff. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on what I think is cool, what I think might not be great, what new things you can build around, all that. And if you enjoy this kind of content, get subscribed, leave a like, so that the algorithm knows that you like it and recommends it to other people, and get ready for more Last Epoch content in 1.0 and beyond. For now, let's dive right into it with new item bases. Boot bases. I mean, you need shoes, and your shoes should be really well made, especially so that you can stomp on enemies' heads. We've got some proper stompers here. Reduced bonus damage taken from critical strikes is interesting. That's been a stat that's both useful and also semi-useless. It reduces the damage you take, but doesn't prevent enemies from critting. So in small amounts, it's kind of useless, but in large amounts, it's very good. And with more and more sources, you should be able to get 100% really easily, or maybe even 70, 80, that's close enough so that you aren't worried about enemy crits. And having it as an implicit is yet another way to deal with that without having to sacrifice a bunch of affixes or use a two-handed weapon. We've also got increased effective haste on you. If you just perked up, haste is very similar to Onslaught and Path of Exile. It's about going fast, hitting fast, fast, clear more stuff. Yeah, I suspect most players are going to be wearing Vanguard boots. They're awesome. New glove bases. Also generic and usable across a lot of classes. So Arcane Bracers and Ascetic Gloves. I'm more excited for the Ascetic Gloves personally, but Arcane Bracers are also very good. I just don't play as many mana builds. The reason I like Ascetic Gloves is cooldown recovery. Really hard to get, and a lot of powerful skills in Last Epoch have cooldowns. So being able to get more on an implicit, absolutely worth it. In a lot of cases, you'll still want endurance gloves, at least if you're using a build that doesn't have many cooldowns. But hey, if you're a Void Knight, I'm pretty sure you're going to be wearing Ascetic Gloves. New belt bases. We've got Praetorian Belt, which gives a lot of armor. I'm pretty sure 250 is way higher than anything else in the game right now. Divine Girdle, move speed. You want to go fast? Yeah, you can go fast. And Chain Belt for Ward Decay Threshold. This should make it easier to maintain higher amounts of ward. New helmet bases. You know what? Let's do this. These are a little hard to see. And no, I'm not going to reshoot the last section. Here we've got Elemental Damage Leeches Health. That's a really interesting one. So many people give up their entire amulet slot just to get generic leech. Or give up their entire glove slot just to get generic leech. Now you can get it as a helmet implicit. Only on mage, that's still pretty awesome. On rogue, you get increased damage over time, base bleed duration. Sanguine Horde is calling your name. Now, having a higher ward decay threshold means you can get more before it rapidly decays. And gaining ward on kill is pretty good if you're killing enemies quickly. Like, on a warlock. There has been an announcement that we are seeing some nerfs to low-life builds with changes to Advent of the Erased. But if we get all these bases and all these new ward items, maybe it just breaks even. Who knows? Maybe even ward/low-life builds come out ahead and are even tankier than ever. Moving on, body armor bases. Now, your body armor is very, very powerful. I think this is actually the hardest piece to justify suboptimal stats for a good base. I was going to say weapon, but honestly, weapons are so stat sticky that you really, really, really want a good base on your weapon too. So here's a few of the options that you'll have. Stun avoidance, increased echo damage. I mean, it's a lot of armor. It's a lot of armor. But I don't think it's the most exciting. This one, gotta go fast, health regen, really high quality of life. But honestly, the Acolyte one for cast speed and mana regen, that's one that excites me. I have never been more mana starved than playing some Acolyte builds. Mage has a lot of mana recovery tools. Acolyte, you really do have to put in the effort. So Coven robes look really sweet. Only downside, their armor's pretty low. Now we're also getting new weapon affixes. Specifically that weapon stats were a little bit lacking. So now you have flat minion spell and minion bow damage, which is really interesting to me because this is a scepter that makes your minion bow damage better. I'm not going to think about it too hard. The other one that's super awesome is Fizz Penetration Minion Fizz. So you're going to be able to get way more pen than before. Let's see, are these prefixes or suffixes? I didn't read this, by the way. I did look at the pretty pictures quickly. Didn't actually read it yet. So let's see. Covering 10 of the 12 in 2 groups. Got it. Oh, suffixes, yes. So these are filling out your suffixes. You're not going to be like, but I don't hit enemies. I can't slow or chill or whatever. You're going to fill them out with things like minion pen. Cool. Also, because it's Fizz pen / minion pen, the penetration one will work for all builds, which is going to make suffixes really competitive on weapons now, especially for ailment builds. Yeah, that looks really strong. And here's some Warlock affixes. Increased damage over time while you have an ailment overload. Okay. Just making sure that I'm not too much in frame, but it's perfect. Spirit frequency with Chthonic Fissure. Chthonic Fissure looks to be really, really strong. And having 34%. Isn't that like 3 nodes worth of value? That seems insane. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Correct me down below, but I'm pretty sure the nodes in Warlock were like 10, maybe 15% each. And so this is basically in one affix, 3 nodes on your tree. That seems pretty good. Plus level to Profane Veil makes sense. Chance for additional projectiles when you directly cast. Oh, but what if I want to trigger it? Come on. Let me have my fun, EHG. It's fine. I'm sure it's good. Let's take a look at Falconer. Oh, okay. 11% chance to deal double damage with Falcon strikes. Caltrops. That's one thing that I'm not sure how good it is or not. Haven't looked into or theory crafted it at all. Damage with Dive Bomb and Area with... Oh, I really like having Area on skills. That's going to feel really good. And Explosive Trap and Throwing Damage. Interesting. So it's not just Explosive Trap, but throwing in general. And then some Gathering Storm affixes. Expending Storm stacks. Level to Gathering Storm. Man, I need to play a Primalist. I don't understand what any of this means. Poison Res is good, though. But yeah, I need to play a Primalist. Next up, we're looking at some of the new uniques being teased and the builds that they might enable. So first up, +3 to shield throw. This shield is not made for defense. It is made for smashing faces. I mean, look at all those face smashing spikes. I would not want to get hit with that. I also don't know that I'd want to hit anything with it unless I was throwing it, because it looks like it could easily deflect back and all those spikes around the edge would then just hit me. No thanks. So chance to retaliate on shield throw. Oh no, retaliate with shield throw on block. Huh. So it's going to be kind of hard to make your block into anything great because you don't get good block effectiveness. Your block chance is pretty good. And +1 throwing damage per 10 damage reflected. So you want to get hit a lot. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how good this is, but I suspect if it is good, it's going to be good on Forge Guard, because that's the class that can really take a beating. And maybe Paladin, but probably just Forge Guard to take a beating. Then we have Communion of the Erased, which I'm going to guess is Ward or Low Life. Stats are doubled for 1 second. Interesting. +1 potion slot per... Wait, are we getting soft sets with Weaver's Will? Where we're going to see bonuses for per Weaver's Will equipped item? Armor, okay. % armor on a belt's nice. Mana spent gained as ward. More damage to stunned enemies. All right, so it looks like the main goal here is you put this on a mana build and you cycle through your mana. That looks very unpleasant to wear, to be honest. I feel a little mixed on this, mostly because I don't like using my potion rotationally. Then again, if you're a ward build, you don't have that much use for it anyway, so maybe it's not too bad. All right, Falcon Fists. That's pretty cool. You get Cinder Strike melee damage per level of falconry while unarmed. So this is a one-punch Cinder Strike build with Bird for support. You get Cinder Strike area. I wonder if there are ranges on these. While unarmed, your Falcon's hits grant +4 melee. Okay. Does that work with Falcon Strikes? Because it looked like the Falcon's melees itself, not that fast. But then with Falcon Strike, it just like dashes everywhere. Or I don't know, maybe that's because of the extra strikes. Either way, if that counts, that's a bunch of extra damage when you press a button. You get +3 to Cinder Strike, +4 to Falconry. So you're going to have at least level 24 with Falconry, which is, let's see, 13, 130, 260 at 20. Then another 50-ish. So you're still looking at over 300 base damage. And some melee attack speed and melee fire damage for you and your minions. My only concern here is crit, because usually when I'm playing a melee build, I'm capping my crit using the weapon. I'm not sure how I'd make up for it if I was using Falcon Fists, because you have to be unarmed. Also, in Last Epoch, can you be unarmed while holding a shield, or does holding a shield count as armed? If you can't hold a shield either, that's pretty rough. If you can hold a shield or, wait, oh god, a quiver. Imagine if you could hold a quiver. Don't ask, yes, that worked in Path of Exile for a while. That might be really strong, but I've never played an unarmed build. I don't even know if they've been a thing before this, actually. Here we go. One punching a bunch of monsters to death. You know, the AoE doesn't look that big. I think you need more Falconer levels there, or Falconry levels. Then Spine of Malatros. Oh, +3 to fire, +2 to damage over time, +2 to Acolyte. That's insane. It casts Flame Whip instead of releasing spirits. Okay, so that could be an upside, but it could be a downside. Oh god, it applies to Flame Whip from all sources. That's definitely an upside. Crit multi per 10% uncapped necrotic. Huh. I guess Flame Whip's a build archetype now. All right, and this is a little preview. Oh, that looks sick. That looks so cool. It's just smacking everything. I kind of wonder if those little explosions or AoEs. It's very hard to tell from the video. Huh. I don't actually know if it's ultimately good. You get a lot of skill levels, but you lack base damage. But it certainly looks cool. And then Vial of Volatile Ice. Huh. Oh, so they're taking something. Yeah, Catalyst for Rogue. Normally rogues don't use catalysts. Convert Acid Flask to cold and grant Frostbite. The interesting thing here is it's an offhand that enables a whole archetype. Acid Flask is the sort of skill, but I've never used it. Well, as utility. I've never used it for damage. I've always been curious. I think your Falcon can drop them too. So let's see. Base damage is converted to cold. Poison chance is converted. It applies Frostbite. I mean, it doesn't say that you use yourself. Looks pretty cool. Changes the visuals and everything. Well, that's exciting. Maybe I'll mess around with a Volatile Ice Falconer as a build. Let me know down below if you want to see that. But at least for now, that's it for today's little teaser and some of my thoughts. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and I'll see you again for the next one. If you want to know more about the new bases, affixes, and items coming in Last Epoch 1.0, then you can read all about it over at MaxwellGG. Alternatively, if you want to get into Last Epoch, I have a series of beginner guides which I'm going to be adding to over the course of a launch. The first few episodes are out, and I've got several in the works right now, so be sure to check those out up in the card or down in the description below. That said, thank you very much for watching the video. A special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. I hope you like this lighter, quicker, just my off-the-cuff thoughts. And I'll see you again in the next one. I'm really excited for the launch. I'm going to be streaming a fair bit, so hopefully I'll see you either here on YouTube or over at Twitch TV/TENKIEI.